Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Diversified miner Rio Tinto CEO Tom Albanese says that Rio is underinvested in Africa. He also expects the continent to become the site of its newest iron ore growth vector. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer is in the studio to tell us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Albanese hopes to see Rio's West African opportunity supplying iron ore within 3 to 5 years. That seems rather ambitious.
It is very ambitious. You know, when we consider what we've been doing in South Africa at Saldanha, pussyfooting around for so many years and, you know, in the region of 40 million tons and then wanting to lift that, of course, but taking such a lot of time over it, we see that the plans of Rio Tinto in Guinea are quite advanced, and he's looking at possibly 70 million tons export from Guinea from the start, and he's hoping to do that within 3 to 5 years. Now, that's a Cemendo project. He's been studying it for some time, but there are something like 1,000 people there from Rio Tinto at the moment working on this. So there's definitely an accelerated attitude going on with the Cemendo project in Guinea of Rio Tinto, this big iron ore project. And when one compares it, say, to Pilbara in Australia, it'll start with about a third of that capacity, with tremendous challenges because they've got to get a rower line of about 700 kilometers long, going down to the port. There's also, I think, quite a few kilometers of tunneling that they're going to have to do. And then the port is very shallow. The shoreline is very shallow. So they're going to have to look at dredging and deepen the port. So challenges all over, not the least being, the political risk of Guinea. I think they had elections there last week. Hopefully there'll be some sort of reduction in political risk. But when one looks from this distance, the political risk profile looks quite high.
Now, you've mentioned that they've got more than 1,000 personnel and also that they've got 1/3 the capacity of the Pilbara. What do you think the future outlook for that region is?
West Africa itself, the whole of West Africa is burgeoning. Not only in iron ore now coming through Guinea, but we see in Ghana and in Mali a lot of activities around gold and infrastructure improving there in general. Because of the mining activity, the infrastructure is starting to improve. Energy infrastructure is improving, road networks are improving, ports are improving. So the whole outlook in West Africa is one of upbeat mining prospect.
You've also mentioned some of the challenges that Rio could face in Guinea. What do you think they could be in general as well as in that area?
The political risk is something that one has to take into account. Guinea hasn't had a good record. Hopefully that is behind it, but one never knows. The actual investment that Rio Tinto is planning to put in there still has to be determined because they're in a feasibility stage and they will determine that investment. But for 70 million tons of iron ore coming out of there, it's going to be a sizable investment. But Rio Tinto has secured for itself a strong partner in Chinalco, the Chinese state-owned company that will come in with billions to support its own, I think, 49% or close to 49% shareholding, less than 49%, but in the 40s. It's going to have a shareholding in this project. And then also in the project is the World Bank's International Finance Corporation. So there are strong partners coming in for Rio Tinto to mitigate its risk in Guinea. But at the same time, just the project alone is an enormous one. The rail is going to be quite onerous. The port is going to need a lot of activity down there. And the 3 to 5 year framework is also quite a short framework when you think of what we've been doing in South Africa for so many years, not really getting to the level of 70 million tons that they'll start with in our Saldanha project. And we've had that line, going for decades.
What sort of business cycle do you think Albanese is expecting for the next few years?
He's saying that it's going to be an abnormal business cycle for the next 10 years. That's the way. That's his scenario planning. He's telling his managers, plan along the line that there's going to be very nice highs, because you can see the demand building up for the products that Rio Tinto produces. But he said he fears scary lows So that volatility is being anticipated and being planned for. And, everybody now makes sure that they have a strong balance sheet, because they don't want to be caught as they were in those dark days of 2008, towards the end of 2008, when we had a global meltdown that caught a lot of companies off guard, and many of them were deeply in debt, not the least being Rio Tinto, which I think had a debt level of $40 billion, which they've since had to reduce down to $15 billion and still wanting to bring it down further. Their credit rating is now improving, and that's what they want to achieve, a far better credit rating. But the outlook they see as being abnormal for the next 10 years in terms of the business volatility and dislocation, structural dislocation in the world economy. And they are making sure that they will be ready for any sharp downturn.
Thank you for chatting to us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.